What's going on, everybody? I am Kat Branchman.
I'm Jada Bersham.
This is my daughter, my eldest daughter. We wanted to make this quick video because we had an amazing conversation, as we always do. But today's a very special day because I officially withdrew her from school. She is actively right now homeschooling, right? Right. So before I get started, I just want to say if you are a teenager watching this, go grab your parent, okay? If you're a parent watching this, go grab your kid, okay? Preferably if you're a mother daughter combination, but grab your kid and watch this video. And then please feel free to stop it, pause it, and kind of answer the questions we're asking each other because I think it would give you some really great, powerful insight to each other. Okay, so starting off, I just want to say I had Jada at 20 years old while I was in college. Her father and I later got married around, she was about 1 years old, and I've been married for 15 years this year. Jada will be 17 this year in October, and
Oh,
she's in the she's in high school, and it's very non-traditional to pull your kid out of school. Like, I'm going to homeschool, but this is something I have been thinking about doing for a long time with everything happening in education and government. You know, I tend to try to trust myself. Before COVID happened, I always mention this. The shutdown happened sometime in March, like where you guys
yeah.
got put out of school. I had took my kids out of school the week before. And I was like, y'all not going back. I don't know what's going on. You're sick, blah, blah, blah. I had already taken my kids out of school. I had to take them back up there to get their books when they announced schools were shutting down. I also had a house full of stuff like supplies and stuff like that. I'm just saying that to say I have learned how to trust myself, even though it looks crazy and other people aren't doing stuff. I'm like, let me go shopping and stack up. And I had all kind of stuff. But fast forward, I am leaning into trusting myself now when it comes to how she's been doing in school, her emotional awareness, her mental health, just prioritizing her as a human being. And I wanted to make a video the day I withdrew her from school because we talked about some things in the car that I think will bless other people. Okay, now, considering the conversation we had, right,
hmm
we really talked about um, what this time is going to mean to you being out of school. And so before I jump into what I want to talk about, any points you think that, imagine your friends and their parents are watching, or our family and friends watching, what are some like key highlights about our conversation we had that you want to mention before I
Mm,
jump in?
well, I kind of just be going with the flow on how you be talking, and then stuff comes up. So I low key forgot everything you
Don't
said.
cover your mouth.
Okay, sorry.
She's learning.
Everything you said, but one of the things that I think that stuck out to me the most is, as parents, you tend to like think ahead and see what you want your kid to do and how they can be successful because you're thinking about your life and you want the best for them and you don't want what happened to you to happen to them. So sometimes you put not my mom, but just
But I have
seeing
done it
other
too,
kids.
Robin.
You have,
Yeah, yeah.
but like just try to make sure you're also encouraging them to do what they want to do as well as what you think would be best. So trying to balance it out because sometimes I've seen parents put too much pressure on their kid and they don't have a life right now.
Yeah.
And you you only get to be a teenager once. And
And let me elaborate on the
yeah,
life
yeah,
because as a
yeah,
parent, I know some of you guys like warning yellow flags are going off like a life. What you need with a life? Your job is school and blah blah blah. Let me elaborate on what she's saying because her father and I said the same thing. We noticed Jada was spending time in her room doing homework till like 10 and 11 o'clock at night. Jada is one of the kids in the house that actually does a great job on her chores. So days where it was for her to do the kitchen, because every other day they switch with her and her brother, we would notice she wasn't cleaning up cleaning up the kitchen, or doing her chores, the bathroom, whatever. Excuse me, until like 11 or 12 at night.
one or two, shoot.
Sometimes it would be like 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, why are you up cleaning? Go to bed. And she's like, oh, I just got done with my homework. I'm like, bruh, this is ridiculous. Like, why are you up doing homework 5 hours, and I know for some of you may be thinking like she was, on her phone, or she was, wasting her time or not reading fast enough. But even with those things being true, there's no way I bust in the room and you're still going over reading AP Euro. You're trying to understand this math concept, and it's like her countenance, her demeanor, she was just miserable. Anyway, long story short, me and her father were like, I miss my baby. Like, we never see her. She's always in her room. She's always at her desk doing homework. She's an artist. She wasn't really crocheting much. She wasn't making any new art. She wasn't sketching. It's just like she was going to school all day and then coming home at night and doing homework all night. And there was no, and she played basketball. So this is an athlete. So she still had practice. She was going to games, but now the season is over. That's all she was doing. So when she says no life, you know, even on the weekends, like, oh, I got homework, a big project due Monday, so we had to factor in homework or project time during the weekends, which affected how we could do stuff. So as a family of 6, it was like we never saw her. And so with her saying she's prioritizing her homework, causing her not to have a life, I wanted to elaborate on that and explain that. But for some parents, we have been indoctrinated and we have been raised to think you should be doing something. What you mean? That's your job. You're supposed to be in school. You're supposed to have homework. But when you really sit down and understand the system and ask questions that we never got to ask ourselves as students is, why am I going to school for 5 to 8 hours a day? Possibly an after school program if you have to stay there. Then coming home and doing any type of homework. I mean, think any type of homework. All of that should have been done in school. You get no break. Imagine going to work and then coming home and working on work for your work so you could be ahead of work tomorrow. Like, what? And so I just, for years, and I had homeschooled Junior the year of COVID. I was like, I took him out and I homeschooled him with curriculum. When he went back to school, they had to make that fool a teacher's aide because he was so far ahead that he was on 7th grade work in the 5th grade. So he was like the IT guy. He came home one day like, yeah, I'm doing the IT stuff because I already know the stuff they teaching and I'm bored. So all that to say, we pulled her out, and our hopes are we're going to help her with her branding. She's an artist. I really believe in her gifting. The reason why I'm able to believe in her gifting is because I know there's a lot of things I had to unlearn to be a better parent and to be a better person. And I want to take the time to tell any parents that are watching this right now that are older. I was raised by an older person. My mom was 40 when she had me. And I was 20 when I had my daughter. I've kind of had the best of both worlds and the worst of both worlds. When you're stuck in your ways based off what you think it should be and what you want, number one, you're going to have a hard time having a conducive relationship with your kid. And number two, it makes it a little bit harder, if you believe, for God to come to you with some insight and some wisdom and some things that you otherwise wouldn't know. It's going to be hard for you to receive it if you're just stuck in your ways. We talked about that.
Yeah.
And she's going to get ready and jump in really quick. But one of the things that we talked about that stood out to us, me today, I was trying to understand as a parent, what was it about the way I raised her where we don't butt heads? Don't get me wrong. She gets fussed at. She get in trouble. I hurt her feelings sometimes with things I say. But for the most part, we have a really, really good relationship. And I'm like, is it because I believe in God? Is it because I'm younger and I'm open to stuff? Is it because I'm a wife and I have a husband I can lean on for stuff? Is it because I have a great village around me? Is it because I read and I study and I look at videos on parents and what I could do better? Is it because I'm open? Is it because I'm a funny parent? Like, what is it? I'll let you chime in on this part really quick. I mean, what do you think it was?
You didn't say everything that we
I
talked
know.
about already.
I said that to say, but I said those things and then you said, I think it's a combination of everything.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but I think it's a combination of everything, like she said. And just our family is just really blessed. Like, not that we have it all, but it really do seem like we have it all. Like, just where my mom has a husband she can go to, and we have like a really good like church and community who supports us whenever we need it. And some of the credit does go to my mom, because when it comes to like some parents parent based off how they feel, or how they feel like they should have been parented, or how the internet tells them to parent, but every kid is very different. Or how they were parented.
Or even cultural norms.
Right. So like
I gotta whoop you.
Right, that's what I was just gonna say. Like with the black community, sometimes you don't always have to beat your kid. Just
and she did get whooped. Let me just say, that's why it's really important to say that, so it's a balanced conversation.
Right.
Because I don't want you to think, oh, she never whipped her kid. I can't listen to this lady. Like, she did get whooped.
I got my fair share. I got my fair share, and I learned.
You got your
I
just
did.
due.
I did. So
But yeah, like, but I also wasn't locked into this is the only way. There were a lot
right.
of punishments where I was like, how can I outparent my kids?
Mhm.
I love that statement because that now puts the pressure on myself, the parent, to
Mhm.
sit and be strategic about who she is, who I am, what she responds to, what she doesn't respond to, and how much of my ego is in this equation.
Mm.
So that was good. I just wanted to touch on
Yeah.
a little bit of everything. So um, excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm trying to get everything in. If you're just joining us, this part I'm going to talk about is really important. So if you need to fast forward and you're sending it to somebody, fast forward to this part. Okay. One thing that I want to mention is that along with when I first had Jada, I was a product of a single parent home, strong black woman who don't need a man for nothing. Okay, that was me. And so I was like, I don't need no man either, whatever. And went off to college, got pregnant, and Jada was about 3 years old. And from 1 to 3, I was, whew, and I'm not saying I was beating her as a toddler, but I was in my mind planning on what type of strict parent I was going to be because that's what type of parent my mama was, right? And so, with that being said, one day I was at the park and I was sitting on the bench and I don't know if you were with me. You may not have been with me, but I do remember the Holy Spirit came to me and was like, if you don't get softer on your daughter and become more loving and stop being so hard, your daughter's going to hate you the way you hate your mom. Now, side note, I don't hate my mother anymore. I have worked through my issues
Anymore.
and I went through therapy. No, seriously. But that is how the Holy Spirit had to give it to me, which is the way you hate your mama and all the things you don't have answers for. This was like 12 years ago. This is a long time ago, maybe 13 years ago. That's how she's going to feel about you if you don't parent her different. And I just cried on the park bench. And I remember somebody walked past, was like, it's going to be all right. And I was like, they don't even know why I'm crying. But the Holy Spirit found a way, an open door. And I listened and I heard it. And I was like, this is Satan. Get thee behind me. I was like, okay. And from that point, it changed my life and how I parented. I always remembered that. So we fast forward. One of the things I think is important is explaining to my daughter why she doesn't have to be just like me. Now, of course, she looks like me. She has a lot of character traits like me. But I was explaining to my daughter, me being I'm going to use words other people use to describe me: bossy, stubborn, know it all, mean, loud, aggressive, masculine, ugly, a bully,
Too much.
too much, just all that. Like, these are words people use to describe me, and I internalize them, and I just put it on like a coat of many colors. That is how I am. I had to fight in the house, like Sophia said. I had to fight my mama. It was a battle there, emotional and verbal abuse, and being told things I don't think was appropriate. I would never tell my children, but I understand my mom was hurt, and we won't get into that. But the point is, I had to fight there with my mom. I had to argue. I had to be strong. I had to be tough. I had to be callous. Then I went to school where I was further bullied. I was younger than everybody because I skipped grades in school. So I was a little bit smaller in stature, extremely intelligent and articulate, which does not equate to any kind of currency in elementary school. And you could talk smart and you can speak well and you can stand up for yourself and your mom is sewing all your clothes, oh baby, you're a target for bullying. So I had to fight there. There were some incidents where I was sexually assaulted in school. I had to fight that. Everywhere I went, even in my family, family gatherings where the person who sexually assaulted me, the cousin, was still coming around. There was so much I had to fight against. I essentially embodied character traits that I thought was just me. This is just how I am. And I told my daughter, she was asking when she first was born and she was a toddler, she was just like Honey is, very bossy, talking back, don't care about no rules. And as she got older, she just kind of almost calmed down, kind of like how when you light a barbecue and it's like a lot of fire and then the coals they're still hot, but they're under control. That's how she was. And I was explaining to her why I think it is, and then it hit me. I believe she is a manifestation of what I was supposed to be or what I could have been had I grown up in an environment of love and support and covering. Now, fast forward, my husband and I had an amazing conversation yesterday where, he's been saying for the past couple of years, I'm changing. And we kind of came to the conclusion that I'm not changing, but I am emerging or evolving into the woman I should have been had I been properly loved and covered and protected. And these words keep coming up even as I'm speaking to her. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like there's always been a part of me, and I feel like I'm rambling. That's why I didn't want to. That's why I wanted to do this live so I can get to it. But
Yeah.
there's a part of me that is turning into her, essentially, as a young lady who knows I'm always got a house to come back to. My mom and dad's gonna love me even in my mistakes. Nothing can really harm me, and if it does, I just got to get back to my mom and dad because they got me. And I'm really just in life experiencing and living under the boundaries that they've set before me, and it's for my safety and for my good.
Before you go on,
Yeah, go.
there's just a point where you made where you're like, I don't have to fight all the time. There was an incident that had happened at my school where some girl had said a slur and I like asked her to stop, and like there was a whole situation going on, and my dad had said, like, I wanted to go home because I was just so frustrated and irritated, but my dad was like, no, you need to stay because we're not always going to be here for you, and when we die or whatever, you can't go home to us every time and you're not going to have anybody. But my mom was like, no, that's not true because I have like 4 people she can bring up right now that if I called them, they would be there no matter what, no questions asked. So like, in a sense where like my dad is trying to keep me tough, but I don't live in the same conditions that they grew up on. I don't have to fight all the time because I have a
She's not
community
Sophia.
who will fight for me. So
and,
yeah.
and this is a really good dialogue that people have to understand is so multifaceted because her dad was right. She does have to learn how to fight. If this girl is doing an art show in New York and some security guys bullying her, she can't call us to come down
Right.
to the art studio if we're out in Monaco, vacationing.
Right.
Okay, yeah, he's right. Like, baby girl, you can handle this. What can you do? Let's think of some solutions to this issue. But I'm also right. Because I know I got a cousin or somebody in New York. Let me get them on the phone. Let me call somebody who knows somebody because you don't have to do this by yourself. And essentially, we are both right. And that's why it's like, man, people are on in the comments arguing about not everybody want to be married. Some of us don't want to be married and you having babies. I get it. I get it. But looking at how empowered the kid is when you do have two thoughts, two coverings, two loving parents in the household, it is a better situation. And me and my husband both grew up in single parent households, and his parents was married and got a divorce when he's like 11, and it wrecked him. And my daddy, it wasn't around either. And so I say all that to say, what she's saying is, listen to how she got the both of best worlds. She got two lessons that are both true, and it was all in a controlled environment. I guess that's a good way of saying it. And so, if you're a parent watching this, I promise I'm not long winded. I just really want this to hit home for somebody. Number one, if I can give you any advice, be open to change. If you are raising your kids the way you were raised, it's probably not the best thing for that kid. I'm about to blow your mind with this next statement. If you were raised a certain way and you're raising your kid completely opposite, that probably ain't the best thing for your kid. I used to think, oh, I'm so different from my mom, until I realized there were some good things my mom did instill in me. I'm extremely creative and strategic. I mean, I can figure out it blows my mind sometimes. And that came out of necessity because we didn't have a lot. My mom gave me that. She didn't try to hide our lack. She was a little too open with it. Nevertheless, I got a lot of great things from that part of our life. There is a fine medium that is like the best product for your kid, and you got to find that. But if I can tell you, that's your number one customer that needs to be satisfied is the kid. If you're parenting your kid without the advice of your kid, you're probably doing a crappy job. How can I produce a product for somebody and I don't know my consumer? That's like the number one thing in marketing. Like, who is your customer? Who is your client? And if it's right about making money, it's right about making, what I used to say, I'm creating a, I used to say, what did I say? I'm producing a contributing citizen of society or something like that. Like, I used to say it all the time. But my advice is to be open to change. Number two, if this conversation sparks something for you and your kids, you should do this like once or twice a month, probably once a week. Once a week, do a check-in, family meeting. Hey, I'm just checking in. What bothered you this week? Do you have any highlights? Is there anything I did that you really enjoyed? If you got a kid that's not really listening, maybe you got to stop punishing them and then start instilling something positive for them. Like, hey, okay, if you do your chores every day this week, you get to pick something we do. Or you get to pick dinner, or I'll give you $20. You ain't got $20. Okay, you want your feet rubbed, you want your hair did, you want to go to your friend's house. Like every day this week, this is what you do, this is what you get. Rather than
And the kid is not the only one benefiting from it, because you're like installing new generational, like, I don't know how to explain it, but new traditions, because now it's not trauma you're passing down, it's like good habits. So you're not teaching,
That's good.
you're treating your kid in a different way, I guess.
I don't know, like a
But
human maybe.
but
Go ahead.
you're also what, so now my children, I'm gonna
It's normal
install,
to you.
right, install new things. So I never thought I would take my kid out, like my 3-year-old, to get her nails done. She's a 3-year-old, why would she care? But it's like, it's just like
But it became normal.
it's became normal, and it doesn't have to be a bad thing to treat them or find different ways to punish them instead of like beating them, because I came from like a slavery thing. We're not in those times anymore, so we don't have to treat it like we're in a war zone.
And let me say this too, for parents that are, if you felt some resistance in your spirit when you heard a child talk about why you shouldn't be whooping kids, you should sit in that. And this is coming from a parent who be whooping her kid's ass. Because when my kids get whooped, when they do, because it's not every day or all the time,
Right.
when they do, number one, it's probably their dad, because I very rarely do it. And number two, it's so calm and controlled. I heard somebody very crazy say this, and he was right. He said, women almost always discipline out of their emotion. If they're whooping somebody, if they whooping ass out of them being upset or being emotionally unstable. Very rarely do they calm down and then give punishment. Yes, that's true. So when a woman is disciplining her children, male or female, she is teaching them how to pass judgment, how to think, how to make choices out of emotion, because they did the same thing. When a father gives discipline, and this is not for all men, okay, I'm only speaking on my husband, he most likely is doing it out of a calm, controlled, go get the belt. I have to do, like, ain't that how daddy
I'm
talk?
getting PTSD. Stop. Oh no!
Hold out your hand.
It's gonna be okay.
It's gonna be okay. No, I have to do this for
Stay
you.
right there.
Yes,
No,
and I'm like,
I don't even get whooped anymore, guys. But just
but this
thinking
is from
about
back
it,
in the day.
stressing me
I'm
out.
saying that to say, it is a completely different experience. This man ain't yelling and cussing and fussing. I ain't doing all that. I ain't even chasing you. Stand still, hold your hand out. And so I'm saying that to say, there are other choices that can be made to help communicate a certain thought or trait that you want your kids to have. Okay. And creating new habits in the family. You know, she's talking about getting nails done. I have pictures of her sitting in the nail salon when she's like maybe 7 or 8, getting her nails done while I'm getting my nails done. And she's super little. The other day, she came out and we had Honey. Honey is 3. She was getting her feet done. And she's like, hella suspicious of everybody. But in her mind, like a core memory loaded, like, I'm going to do this with my kid. Oh my gosh. I didn't even think, 3 years old, it cost like $10. She got some pink toes with white flowers, and you can't tell her nothing about them little ugly feet. And she's so happy. But the long-lasting memories and the nonverbal communication that she experienced, priceless. So I didn't mean to go 25 minutes, but we're going to do this more often, especially as she's home. Her plans for homeschool are to help her build her brand. We're going to help give her some goals and to-dos as far as like collection she's going to produce, her website she's going to continue picking back up working on, creating her crochet stuff, her clothes. You know, this just opened up a world of possibilities. And like I told her when she cut her hair off, you know, we're choosing to trust in you, and that a whole bunch of people, including ourselves, will learn something from it. And we learned a lot when she cut her hair off. She cut her hair off the summer before she went to 5th grade, and I didn't know if it was because she was, you know, having mental health issues. I didn't know because she was lesbian. I didn't know if I stressed her out. I didn't know. But she came to me and said, this is what I want to do, and I trusted her. And so, did you come to me about homeschool, or did I come to you?
It's something we've been talking about for a while.
Yeah, just on and off. Just being open to it.
It was in 9th grade too. You might have came to me when I was probably doing like a whole bunch of homework. I always been doing a whole bunch of homework.
I've been trying to get you to homeschool, but I
Yeah.
didn't want it to be this thing that I did because I knew she was getting closer to being an adult, And it couldn't be that. It had to be a joint effort, you know.
Right.
And so, definitely stay tuned. We'll do more of these, but you know, mothers, fathers, just know that one day this person's going to be an adult, and when she grows up, you know, I want her to, I want to be a part of her life by choice. She don't have no obligation to me. She don't have no obligation to take care of me when I get older. That ain't her job. That's my job. But if I do and instill in her the foundations of family and I do my part, then it won't be work to her to take care of me. It'll be her honor to take care of me and to help me. God forbid, you know, Lance get called home to glory and I'm a widow. I'm a widow. Or if I get called home and he's a widower, you know, we're gonna want to be around our kids and grandkids because our best friend is gone. These are all things that we have to parent out of later on down the line. And for some of you parents, I think you need to turn to your child and apologize to them, not because you did anything wrong, but because you're still human and you're growing. And there may have been some choices you could have made better had you been in a different situation, had you had more insight, had you had a village, had you had a husband or a wife, or a relationship that was you know, a reciprocal relationship where you could lean on your partner and they can help you. But I think that's the first step, is your kids seeing you can be humble enough to say, hey, I may have got some things wrong and I love you enough to say I'm sorry. And by doing that doesn't mean you're any less of an adult or a parent. In fact, you show your humanity. And oftentimes parents get mad because our kids don't see us as humans. I get tired too. I want something to eat too. I want to go out too. I want to sleep late too. But you don't never treat them like you're a human. There's no instance where you can sit and be parallel to them. Kids, if you're watching this, you probably need to turn to your parents and tell them, I apologize. I didn't realize that you were trying to just do the best you can with what you received. Because sometimes you think that your parents should make better choices than you, but you have no idea that they were raised under completely different circumstances, and you know your parents are still operating out of coping mechanisms, meaning something bad happened, they had to respond to it by being hard and tough, and they never got in a safe enough environment to put that shield down, and now they're parenting you out of their
Pain. I was just about to
pain
say that, yeah.
and trauma, you know, and maybe they weren't afforded the opportunity or the idea to go to therapy. But I'm praying that this video will illuminate or enlighten you to do better. Is that a good? Do better, parent better,
Change. Be okay with change.
be okay with change.
Like, one thing I would just say, like, this whole video, like, you could even title it Change, but I had a conversation with the twins' mom. Shout out to her.
Hey.
But she was just talking to me about how outdated, like, the U.S. system is, and, like, an example, daylight savings. Like, we were doing stuff from back then where we don't have
Based
to
off
do
tradition,
that.
yeah.
Right, tradition. And it's making our life now difficult because we don't have to operate like that anymore. So just, like, think about, like, as a kid, why you do the things you do, and as an adult, why you parent the way you parent, and just think, is this serving my kid? Is this serving our relationship? Because sometimes we parent or we do things from right now, and I think my mom's doing a really good job of, like, parenting ahead. Like, she's always thinking ahead. And how can this benefit your future? Because I have one friend in particular where she mostly just does everything her parents are asking her to do. Everything she's doing is surrounded by the job that they want her to do. And at the end of the day, you just want your kid to be successful and live a good life and be happy. But if you just think, is this making them happy? They're financially stable, but they hate their lives and they hate their families because they never thought, what do I want? And now now their kids hate them because they're doing what you did. So I'm just think ahead, and you can have the best of both worlds where they're doing something that's financially stable, but you're also encouraging them to do what they want to do in life. So if you take anything away from this video, is just to be okay with change, because change is uncomfortable, but everybody has to change eventually. So
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
change is inevitable.
Right.
One day, I mean, who I am today won't be who I am tomorrow, and it's not who I was yesterday. And it's kind of cliche and corny, but it's so true. And I think we'll make this a series. One, two. If you're a parent that's watching this and you are interested in maybe having a one-on-one session, with myself and Jada, where we sit on a Zoom call, and maybe there's one particular thing you just want your kid to understand or you want help with, you can email me at kbranchman@gmail.com. That's K, B as in boy, RANCHMAN @gmail.com. That's Branchman, like a branch on a tree, MAN. kbranchman@gmail.com. And email me and let me know, and we'll set something up. Also, Jada and I will be planning a sip and chat, which is basically a get together. It'll be for teenage girls. I possibly may do one for the parents. We may have one together, but where we come get together, we eat a little food, we drink a little bit, and we just have conversations over surrounding particular topics. I am a believer, so, meaning that I do believe, in Jesus Christ. However, I am very practical, and I do believe in, non-traditional, non-conforming ways of parenting, which to me, this is my fruit of my labor. This is my fruit. I believe I produced an amazing individual who's still a kid, not quite yet grown, but it works. And so, if you're interested in that, email us, and we'll be sure to get back with you and plan something. Stay tuned for part 2. I don't know when. This has been Kat Branchman
With Jada.
and we'll talk to you guys later. Change is good. Peace.